Hello everyone and welcome to your Chem 113 review on solubility rules. My name is Jason and I work for the ASU Tutoring Centers. Now, solubility rules are very complicated. The idea is, given an ionic compound, how do we know if it's soluble or not? No, not every single one is soluble. And in fact, what does soluble even mean? Well, soluble essentially just means it is able to dissolve. So if I were to take sodium carbonate and just drop it in water, would that dissolve or not? If it can dissolve, that would be soluble. If it cannot dissolve, that would be insoluble. So the general rule is ionic compounds, certain cations and certain anions paired together can dissolve, while other ones cannot dissolve. And in general, the basic ones are all organized in this table right here. This is not a comprehensive list. There are, of course, a bunch of other ionic compounds that are not included in this list, but this sort of covers the basics. So in general, compounds containing the anions, these following anions, would be considered soluble, whereas compounds containing these anions would be considered insoluble. However, just like with everything in chemistry, there are, of course, exceptions. So for instance here, any ionic compound that includes the anion nitrate is going to be soluble no matter what. It does not matter what the cation is, it will automatically be soluble. However, down here, bromine, or I guess the bromide ion, every ionic compound that contains the bromide anion will be soluble except for the ones that have silver, mercury, or lead as their cations. So that's why I said solubility rules are complicated. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Some just tend to dissolve no matter what. Others dissolve with most cations, but not every cation. So sort of just knowing these solubility rules is just what you have to do. So let's look at sodium carbonate. So the anion here is carbonate. We go down, we find it here. So it's likely insoluble, but we have to check our exceptions. So sodium carbonate is soluble unless it is paired with an alkali metal. What is an alkali metal? That's a metal in the first column of the periodic table. And in fact, sodium is an alkali metal. So sodium carbonate would be insoluble except for the fact that we're using sodium. Therefore, sodium carbonate is soluble. So in most cases, ionic compounds containing carbonate are insoluble, or on the insoluble list, but because sodium is an alkali metal, sodium carbonate is in fact soluble. Now let's look at part B, lead sulfate. So the anion we're working with here is sulfate. So again, we check out our list. Where is sulfate at? Sulfate is right here. So more than likely it's going to be soluble. However, we have to check our exceptions. We look through our exceptions and there is lead. So lead is an exception to the rule. So instead of being soluble, lead sulfate is insoluble. So yeah, it really just comes down to memorizing the rules. There's various ways you can memorize them. I mean, there's some patterns, right? Like these are all group 7 of the periodic table. They're all halogens, and the solubility rules fail on the exact same ions. So there are certain ways to try to memorize these, but for the most part, you just sort of have to memorize them, unfortunately. That's solubility rules for you. All right, well, thank you all for watching. If you want more information about the free tutoring services we offer on all 4 major ASU campuses and online, please check out tutoring.asu.edu/content/tutor-search. When you go here, you'll be able to look up a specific tutor on your campus or online that will be able to help you with your specific course. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.